Greetings, friends. Ken McAuliffe, the Jazz Vinyl Lover, back. Might change my name. Ken McAuliffe, the stereophile audiophile, which I am. I'm the Jazz Vinyl Lover, but I'm also the stereophile audiophile, because I've written for Stereophile for about 4 years now. Before that, starting in 1995, I wrote for a variety of high-end audio websites, including Soundstage, Six Moons, Positive Feedback, and very briefly before I came on to Stereophile, I wrote for John Darko's exceptional Darko Audio, perhaps the best high-end audio website in the world. And I mean it. John's just got the act together. He's got it down. But I wanted to maybe start incorporating high-end audio or audio in general into my videos. And I thought I'd take you on my journey with this beauty right here. This is the Thorns TD124. The Thorns TD124, one of the greatest turntables in the world, made in Switzerland, I believe. It's called an idler wheel turntable. You have direct drive, you have belt drive, and you have idler wheel, which means there's I'm having trouble with my teeth today, I'm sorry. There's a wheel up against a sub platter that drives the main platter. And I'm going to be upgrading this with various items, including a new plinth. This is the plinth, the box that this very heavy turntable sits in. I'm going to get a new plinth from Moldova. There's a fellow over there, he makes really, really beautiful plinths and ships them for about $90. I'm getting a maple one, just a basic maple one. It's $100. You can get them to $400. They're just stunning to look at. Zebra wood, all sorts of unique wood. And I'm also getting a new suspension system, because as is, out of the box, when these were made, I guess in the late 50s, they're rather noisy by today's standards. So I'm getting a new system with new rods and new springs. Art Dudley was kind enough to give me this turntable. It was really, really sweet of him. And I upgraded it with the gel coat tone arm and my Denon Deal 103 cart on there. But so as I get the new plinth, I'll show you guys, and maybe we'll play it. I don't know if you can hear the difference. But also I want to talk today about the blues. The blues, I think, are even harder. I don't think they are harder to collect records than jazz records. They're much more rare. The infrequent times we get in blues collections at the Jazz Record Center, they're just gone. And on all my tracks around the city and looking at all the different stores, you see blues records very infrequently. They're just hard to find. I guess not as many were pressed, and the audience was smaller. The great blues masters, Robert Johnson. Speaking of which, is a pretty good Robert Johnson documentary on Netflix right now. But Robert Johnson, Howlin Wolf, the King, Sonny Boy Williamson, Lightnin' Hopkins, Muddy Waters, and it's funny, back in the late '60s, groups like Cream were indebted, and the Yardbirds were indebted to all the great blues masters. So Chess did a series of records putting these young white British players with the old, black blues dudes. And I know they did one with Howlin' Wolf, and even said on the record, Howlin' Wolf doesn't like this record. Those records are pretty cheesy. It's better to go back and get the original reissues in my case. But Howlin' Wolf, what a massive, mammoth figure in the blues, playing in the background there. White appropriation then as now is alive and well. Captain Beefheart basically took the voice of Howlin' Wolf and added all those weird meters and funky sounds, in the same way that Joe Cocker took Ray Charles and appropriated what he did. Even though both those guys are great, I love Beefheart, and I love Joe Cocker. There's also a good Joe Cocker documentary on Netflix right now that really traces the many travails he went through. What an amazing singer. But Howlin' Wolf is my hero. I love Howlin' Wolf. He was a big, gigantic bear of a man. He was literally a farmer, I believe. And if you see videos of him, he's massive. And he's got that amazing voice. I just have a few blues records that I can find. My apartment's such a wreck, I can't find anything. But this, I believe, is an original Chess pressing. I'll show you the label. I don't even know how to tell an original from a reissue, to tell you the truth. I just don't know enough about it. I don't think this is an original. It's a little too shiny. But if you're learning about jazz, a great website to go to is called London Jazz Collector. If you want to learn about all the reissues, the original pressings, the variances, and all the different pressing years, and the stamps, and the whole 9 yards, how Blue Note in particular changed their label information, and London Jazz Collector is funny. I don't know the guy's name, but he took his basic information from Fred Cohen's A Guide to Collecting Blue Note Records, and he replicated the cover of the book for all his different guides within that website. But a great website. Here's another great Howlin Wolf record. I mean, look at that. Look at that head. Look at that voice. Look at that mouth. He's the king. Just the sound of, you know, I don't really know much about Howlin Wolf, but to me he's very joyous. There's a lot of joy in his sound. I mean, he's just pulsing. He's rocking. He's moving it. You know, Muddy Waters is great as well, but I'm more of a Howlin Wolf kind of guy. I think Howlin Wolf, I mean, Muddy Waters is probably more urban, Chicago blues, I believe. As for Howlin Wolf, I don't really know where he's from, but I know he's a farmer, so he's, you know, he's rural. This is I believe a Record Store Day reissue. It's actually on the DOL label, manufactured in Europe. This is sealed. I haven't listened to it. But there you have it. Also, the great Junior Wells. Junior Wells, great harmonica player. You know, they reissued this record for a Record Store Day. This has also been issued as a audiophile pressing, which I heard. I don't know how I feel about audiophile pressings for blues records. You know, the Muddy Waters folk singer. The other day I heard a Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab version of it. It was okay. I've heard the 45 of it. I think I have. It's okay. There's just something, it's too overly about the sound. You know, you can tell he's in a big room or they're using a lot of plate echo or something. But this is one of the classic Junior Wells. I mean, extremely visceral. You know, just the soul of the blues. Howlin Wolf, Junior Wells, can't go wrong with any of these giants. And then we had a few, you know, Chess also did a blues collection series. I think 1 through what? I don't know. 1 through 5. I have a couple. There's volume 4. Here's a record on Delmark that I talked about in one of my other videos, Honkers and Bar Walkers. And this is a Delmark promo. Delmark, the great blues label out of Chicago. And this includes Jimmy Forrest, Fred Jackson, Fats Noel, Cozy Eccleston, Jimmy Coe, Roy Abrams, Earl Johnson, Paul Bascom. So Jimmy Forrest and Fred Jackson, who recorded on Prestige and Blue Note respectively. There's a little bit of crossover there. You know, this dates from the era in the 50s and early 60s where every ghetto and every predominantly white city, you know, the black ghettos, had organ bars and juke joints, and even out in the country you had juke joints. This is something I don't know a lot about, but I'm just kind of running off. But every city did have, you know, Hammond organ bars were very common. And guys would get up on, the saxophone players would get up on the bar and walk as they were blowing, which is an old rock and roll tradition. You probably see Bill Haley and the Comets doing that in some old movies. But that's my little bit of a blues primer. And as I dig out of the mess of my apartment, I'll find more records and show you those. Got a new video set up, chopping off my head. Hope you guys have a great weekend.